The Zarnak Empire, a technologically advanced alien faction with a long-standing disdain for humanity, launched a sudden and brutal raid on the colony of New Eden. The humans, unprepared for such an attack, scrambled to defend their settlement, but the Zarnak overwhelmed them with their superior firepower and numbers. In the chaos, 8-year-old Alex Winters, a bright and curious child, became separated from his parents. The Zarnak soldiers, scouring the colony for valuable hostages to leverage in future negotiations, stumbled upon Alex hiding in the ruins of a playground. "Bring the human child aboard," growled the Zarnak commander, an imposing figure with violet-hued scales. "The Terrans cherish their offspring. This one will serve as a tool to secure their obedience." Alex was whisked away, clutching a small toy spaceship, a gift from his parents, while the colony reeled from the attack. The Zarnak ship, a massive vessel brimming with alien technology, left the planet behind as it hurtled toward the Zarnak fleet stronghold. Unbeknownst to the Zarnak, they had made a critical error. Alex was no ordinary hostage, and humanity was no ordinary species. The Zarnak vessel was a marvel of alien engineering, towering, cold and calculated in its design. Its endless corridors of gleaming black metal were lined with pulsating energy conduits, emitting a faint hum. To Alex, it felt both terrifying and strangely fascinating. The Zarnak captors marched him through the ship under the watchful eye of guards. Despite his fear, Alex's curiosity quickly overtook him. His eyes darted around, marveling at the ship's technology, its glowing consoles, and the strange, multi-eyed beings moving through its halls. They eventually led Alex to a sterile holding chamber, devoid of any color or comfort. Commander Velek, the Zarnak in charge of the raid, entered the room, towering over Alex. Velek's scales shimmered under the harsh light as he observed the child with a mixture of disdain and confusion. "Sit there, human," Velek growled. "You will remain until your leaders surrender to the might of the Zarnak Empire." Alex, clutching his toy spaceship tightly, looked up at the fearsome alien. "Your ship is cool. How does it work?" "Are those glowing things energy converters?" he asked with wide-eyed wonder, pointing at the conduits visible through the door. Velek blinked his 3 eyes in surprise at the child's lack of terror. "You are not afraid of me?" he demanded. Alex shrugged. "You look kinda scary, but my mom says not to judge people by how they look." He paused before adding, "Also, you're kinda talking funny." Taken aback by the child's candid demeanor, Velek hissed and left the room, muttering about unpredictable humans. Over the next few hours, Alex's insatiable curiosity caused chaos aboard the ship. With no apparent sense of fear, he explored every corner of his holding area, touching panels and asking the guards questions that left them baffled. Somehow, he managed to accidentally open a compartment filled with Zarnak maintenance tools and tampered with a nearby terminal, briefly shutting down lights in a section of the ship. When one of the Zarnak scientists investigated how the child had caused such disruptions, Alex innocently asked, "Why do your systems have such big buttons?" "It's too tempting not to push them." The Zarnak began to realize their hostage was not a fragile, docile being as they had assumed. The crew grew increasingly uneasy, and the child's curiosity was proving far more disruptive than anticipated. Life aboard the Zarnak vessel was becoming increasingly chaotic, and the cause of the disruption was no mighty foe, but an 8-year-old human child. While Alex's natural curiosity seemed harmless, his innocent exploration of the alien technology was quickly exposing vulnerabilities in the Zarnak ship systems. Alex wandered freely within the confines of his guarded holding area, occasionally prodding glowing panels and marveling at how the ship seemed to come alive under his touch. While trying to figure out how one of the Zarnak devices worked, Alex inadvertently activated a maintenance protocol that rerouted energy from critical systems, leaving several ship sections in the dark for over 20 minutes. "What is this madness?" Commander Velek barked as the lights in the command deck flickered. His crew scrambled to restore order, only to discover that the disruption had originated near the child's holding area. The guards stationed outside Alex's chamber were growing frustrated as well. One of them, a junior Zarnak soldier named Rivak, muttered, "This creature is a menace. It pokes and prods at everything like it's some kind of game." "Why don't you just make him stop?" growled another guard. Rivak hesitated, a flicker of doubt crossing his scaled face. "I tried, but when I told the human to stop, it started asking why and how, and then before I knew it, I was explaining how the plasma conduits work." He paused, his voice lowering, and then it asked if the system could be improved. I didn't know what to say. Commander Velik overheard the conversation, his frustration mounting. "Enough of this nonsense. Increase the security around the child. He is a hostage, not a saboteur." Despite the increased security, Alex's sheer curiosity continued to outwit the Zarnak at every turn. His questions and observations began to unnerve the crew, challenging their deeply ingrained belief that humans were simple, inferior beings. More importantly, Alex's unintended disruptions revealed weaknesses in their systems that the Zarnak themselves had overlooked. In one particularly alarming incident, Alex discovered a ventilation panel in his chamber that led to maintenance corridors. The child innocently crawled through, exploring the guts of the ship. By accident, he stumbled upon a control node for the ship's thermal regulators and activated a diagnostic that shut down the heating in multiple sections of the vessel. Zarnak scientists scrambled to fix the temperature imbalance, stunned at how quickly their systems had been thrown into disarray. Back in his holding chamber, Alex was approached by Rivak, the junior soldier who had been assigned to monitor him. Alex, blissfully unaware of the havoc he'd caused, looked up from tinkering with a Zarnak food dispenser. "Hey, Rivak," Alex said cheerfully. "Do you know that your ship's climate system has a weird design flaw? If you reroute the energy conduits like this," he motioned with his hands, "you can prevent overheating and power failures." Rivak stared at the child, his reptilian eyes wide. "You discovered a design flaw? How? You're just a child." Alex shrugged. "I dunno. I just noticed stuff. Mom says I'm good at puzzles." Rivak didn't know whether to feel impressed or terrified. The Zarnak Empire had taken this human child as a hostage, believing it was a powerless bargaining chip. Now, it was becoming clear that they might have invited far more trouble aboard their ship than they had ever anticipated. The Zarnak were beginning to realize their mistake, but the full extent of their miscalculation was yet to come. Tension rippled through the corridors of the Zarnak ship. What had begun as a seemingly routine abduction had spiraled into an unforeseen dilemma. Alex, the human child, had disrupted their operations in ways they never expected. Yet the Zarnak crew could not help but notice something peculiar. Alex wasn't acting out of malice. Despite being a hostage, he exhibited an unwavering curiosity, a surprising kindness, and a profound adaptability that baffled his captors. Commander Velik, who once considered humans insignificant, now observed the child with a mix of irritation and reluctant fascination. He watched as Alex sat cross-legged on the floor, examining a Zarnak scanner he had borrowed from a distracted guard. Instead of attempting sabotage, the boy seemed genuinely interested in understanding its mechanics. "Human," Velik growled, towering over Alex. "Why do you persist in meddling with things you cannot comprehend?" Alex looked up, unfazed by the commander's imposing figure. "I just want to understand how it works. It's really cool. Your ship is different from anything I've seen back home." Velik narrowed his 3 eyes. "You should be quaking in fear. Instead, you tinker and ask endless questions." He leaned closer, his voice a low hiss. "What is it about your kind that makes you so unrelenting?" Alex blinked, his brow furrowing in thought. "I dunno. Mom says humans are good at trying. Even when things are scary, we try to make stuff better." He paused and added with a small smile, "I guess we just don't like giving up." The commander stared at the child, momentarily speechless. There was something unsettlingly profound about such a simple answer. He turned on his heel and stormed out, but Alex's words lingered in his mind. Meanwhile, Alex's behavior was having a ripple effect among the Zarnak crew. His innocent questions and genuine curiosity disarmed even the most hardened soldiers. Rivak, who had initially viewed the child as a nuisance, found himself engaging in conversations with Alex, often answering the child's inquiries about Zarnak culture and technology. "What's that symbol on your armor mean?" Alex asked one day, pointing to an intricate crest on Rivak's chest plate. "It is the mark of my clan," Rivak replied. "It signifies loyalty to the Empire and my kin." Alex tilted his head. "Do you like being part of the Empire?" The question caught Rivak off guard. It is my duty," he said hesitantly, though his tone lacked conviction. Alex nodded thoughtfully. "I guess duty is important. But do you ever get to choose what you want to do?" Rivak had no answer. The child's questions, though innocent, planted seeds of doubt in the soldier's mind. He began to see Alex not as a hostage, but as a representation of something the Zarnak had long dismissed: human ingenuity and resilience. As days passed, more crew members began to soften toward Alex. Some even found themselves reflecting on the child's uncanny ability to remain hopeful and kind despite his circumstances. Alex's actions, unintentional or not, were slowly chipping away at the Zarnak's perception of humanity. But not everyone was swayed. Commander Velik, determined to maintain his authority, viewed the growing camaraderie between Alex and the crew as a threat. He convened his officers, his voice cold and sharp. "This child is a distraction," Velik declared. "He has made fools of our soldiers and disrupted our operations. We must remind the crew of their duty to the Empire and of humanity's inferiority." However, Velik's resolve would soon be tested. The child's spirit and the crew's shifting sentiments were about to collide with an external threat that neither side could ignore. The Zarnak ship drifted through the cold void of space, its crew growing weary of the unforeseen challenges presented by their human hostage. But the relative calm was shattered when a rival alien faction, the Braxton, a warlike species with little regard for diplomacy, ambushed the vessel. The Braxton, detecting the Zarnak ship in a vulnerable state, launched an unexpected attack. Explosions reverberated through the corridors as the Braxton's plasma cannons tore into the Zarnak vessel's hull. The ship shuddered violently, and alarms blared as systems failed one by one. Commander Velik barked orders from the bridge, his voice a mix of anger and desperation. "Divert all power to shields. Prepare for a counterstrike," Velik commanded. In the chaos, Alex sat quietly in his holding chamber, clutching his toy spaceship. The once fascinating Zarnak ship now felt like a dangerous place. But Alex's sharp mind noticed something that could be a crucial opportunity. The backup lighting flickered, and he remembered the strange alien panels and conduits he had studied during his explorations. The guard station near Alex's chamber hesitated as another explosion rocked the ship. One turned to the other. "Should we secure the hostage?" Alex, overhearing this, stood up. "I can help," he said earnestly. The guards looked at the child in disbelief, but before they could dismiss him, Alex pointed at the nearby panel. "I know how to reroute the conduits to stabilize your shields. I've seen where your energy core connects to this." The skepticism lingered on their reptilian faces, but Rivak, who had come to begrudgingly respect Alex, made a bold decision. "The child has already demonstrated an understanding of our systems," he said, turning to the others. "What choice do we have? Let him try." The guards reluctantly allowed Alex access to the panel. With nimble fingers and a child's endless curiosity, he worked to stabilize the energy systems. His earlier accidental tampering had inadvertently revealed critical flaws, and now Alex was fixing them with surprising competence. Meanwhile, the Braxton intensified their assault. On the bridge, Velik snarled in frustration. "We're losing power to the shields. Where is the engineering team?" A communication channel crackled to life. "Commander!" a panicked officer reported. "The human child is stabilizing the energy conduits. The shields are holding." Velik froze, disbelief etched into his expression. The child. For a moment, pride clashed with humiliation in his mind, but the urgency of the situation overrode his ego. "Very well. Redirect additional power to the shields and prepare for evasive maneuvers." As Alex worked, Rivak stayed close, his earlier doubts replaced by admiration. "You're remarkable human," he admitted. Alex glanced at him and replied with a small smile. "I just don't want anyone to get hurt." In a move that surprised even himself, Rivak relayed Alex's instructions to the Zarnak engineering teams. Together, they executed maneuvers to outwit the Braxton, using Alex's improvised solutions to keep the ship functional. Finally, with a coordinated counterstrike, the Zarnak managed to disable the Braxton vessel's weapons, forcing them into retreat. When the dust settled, the Zarnak crew was left stunned. The ship was battered but operational, and their unlikely savior was an 8-year-old human hostage. Commander Velik stood in the main chamber, his piercing eyes fixed on Alex. "You could have left us to die," Velik said, his tone sharp but softened by an edge of curiosity. "Why did you help us?" Alex tilted his head, his expression as earnest as ever. "Because you needed help," he said simply. "That's what my dad always says. We help people if we can, even if they're different from us." For the first time, Velik saw humanity in a different light, not as weak, but as infuriatingly resilient and compassionate. It was a stark contrast to the cold pragmatism of the Zarnak Empire. Around him, murmurs of respect for the human child spread among the crew. But the Zarnak struggles were not over yet. Humanity, aware of the abduction and now tracking the Zarnak ship, was preparing to arrive in force. The next chapter of the ordeal was about to unfold. In the aftermath of the Braxton assault, the Zarnak ship limped through space, its crew repairing what they could of the damage. Though they had narrowly escaped destruction, the ship was still battered and vulnerable. Amidst the tension and exhaustion, Alex sat cross-legged in a corner of the main deck, tinkering with a small tool he had found. The atmosphere on the bridge was quiet but uneasy. Commander Velik stood at the helm, his expression unreadable as he processed the events of the past hours. Alex's ingenuity had saved them a fact that both unsettled and intrigued him. Yet the child's presence also continued to challenge the Zarnak crew's deeply ingrained beliefs about humanity. Just as calm began to settle over the ship, alarms blared to life again. This time, the sensor displays showed an approaching fleet. Dozens of sleek, powerful ships bearing the insignia of the United Terran Fleet closed in on their position. "It's the humans," Rivak murmured, all mixed with dread in his voice. "They've tracked us." Commander Velik's jaw tightened. "All hands to stations. Prepare the ship for negotiation. We are in no condition to fight a fleet of that size." His words betrayed his frustration, but he was acutely aware that the Zarnak were cornered. As the Terran ships surrounded the crippled Zarnak vessel, a transmission came through. The image of Admiral Eleanor Hayes, a formidable figure known for her unyielding resolve, appeared on the view screen. "This is Admiral Hayes of the United Terran Fleet," she declared, her steely gaze locking onto Velik. "You have taken a human child hostage. Surrender the child immediately, or face the full force of our fleet." Commander Velik hesitated, his pride clashing with the reality of the situation. The crew exchanged nervous glances, aware that their survival depended on how their leader chose to respond. Before Velik could speak, Alex stepped forward, his voice breaking the heavy silence. "Wait," he called out, earning startled looks from both the Zarnak crew and the humans on the view screen. Admiral Hayes frowned. "Alex, are you safe?" Alex nodded earnestly. "I'm okay. They didn't hurt me." He turned to Velik, his tone imploring. "Please don't fight them. Just talk to them. You don't have to be enemies." Velik stared at the child, his 3 eyes narrowing as he weighed the boy's words. Finally, with a sharp inhale, he made his decision. "Open the communication channel fully," he ordered, surprising his crew. The Zarnak leader stepped forward, addressing Admiral Hayes directly. "Admiral, we have no intention of engaging your fleet. The child is unharmed, and we will release him immediately." Hayes studied Velik's expression carefully. "What's your angle, Commander?" "The Zarnak are not known for acts of goodwill." Velik glanced at Alex, who looked up at him with wide, hopeful eyes. For the first time, the commander's voice lacked its usual coldness. "Consider it a gesture of understanding," he said. "Your child has proven to be more resourceful and compassionate than I thought possible. Perhaps there's more to your species than we assumed." The crew of the SS Resolute, the lead Terran ship, was stunned by the exchange. Admiral Hayes' gaze softened ever so slightly. "Return the child unharmed, and we may consider this incident closed. But know this, Commander, humanity will not tolerate future transgressions." Under Alex's watchful gaze, the Zarnak released him into the custody of the Terran fleet. As Alex stepped onto the human ship, he turned back to Rivak and Velik, his expression a mix of sadness and gratitude. "Thank you for letting me go," Alex said. "And thank you for listening." Velik said nothing, but Rivak gave a small, almost imperceptible nod. The Zarnak ship powered up its engines, limping away into the void. For the first time, they carried not just defeat, but the faint beginnings of understanding. Back aboard the Terran fleet, Alex was reunited with his family and hailed as a hero. But Alex's thoughts remained with the Zarnak, and the child wondered if his actions had planted the seeds of something greater, perhaps even peace. The Zarnak vessel drifted silently in the aftermath of its encounter with humanity. For the crew, the mission had been a disaster. They had taken a human child hostage, only to find themselves humbled by the very species they sought to dominate. Yet, amid the wreckage of their pride, new thoughts began to take root. In the ship's command chamber, Commander Velik stood staring out at the infinite expanse of stars. Rivak, now promoted in the aftermath of his actions during the Braxton attack, approached cautiously. "Commander," Rivak began, his voice measured, "do you believe we underestimated them?" Velik's violet-scaled hand tightened on the edge of the console. "Underestimated? No," he replied, though his voice carried a tone of inner conflict. "We dismissed them. We saw their frailty and assumed it defined them. That was our mistake." Rivak nodded, but said nothing more. He knew better than to press his superior further. Yet, like many on the crew, the events involving Alex lingered in his mind. The child's resourcefulness, compassion, and courage had done more than disrupt their ship. It had sown doubt in the Zarnak Empire's long-held assumptions about human inferiority. Among the junior crew, whispers spread. Some began to question the Empire's teachings, wondering what other misconceptions might exist about the species they had treated as lesser beings. The seeds of change, though small, had taken hold. Meanwhile, on Earth, Alex's return was met with celebration. Humanity, furious over the abduction, had prepared for war, but Alex's actions had steered the conflict toward understanding. The child was hailed as a hero, not for wielding weapons, but for embodying the resilience and heart of humanity. Admiral Hayes, though proud of Alex, saw the larger implications of the encounter. She addressed the Terran High Council, urging them to capitalize on this moment. "We have demonstrated our strength," she said, "but we have also shown mercy. The Zarnak now know that humanity is not to be trifled with, but more importantly, they have glimpsed what makes us unique. Let us use this opportunity to seek dialogue, not just dominance." Back on the Zarnak ship, Velik issued an uncharacteristic command. He ordered the crew to log everything they had learned about the human child and relay it to the Zarnak High Command. For a leader who had once dismissed humanity as inconsequential, this was a monumental step. The humans have proven they are not as simple as we believed, Velic wrote in his report. Their resilience and compassion, even in the face of adversity, are qualities that warrant closer observation. The child embodied these traits in a way we cannot ignore. Perhaps it is time for the Empire to reconsider its approach. The encounter between humanity and the Zarnak Empire left ripples in the galaxy far beyond either species' expectations. Back on Earth, Alex became a symbol of what humanity stood for: resilience, compassion, and the ability to turn the tide even against overwhelming odds. Statues were erected in his honor, and his story was retold across colonies, becoming a catalyst for renewed hope and unity among humans. Alex, now back with his family, often wondered about the Zarnak. He couldn't shake the feeling that his time on their ship had made an impact, not just on the crew, but on the foundations of their beliefs. "I hope they're doing okay," he said one evening to his mother, staring up at the stars. "I think they're just trying to figure things out like we are." Unbeknownst to Alex, his actions had indeed set changes into motion within the Zarnak Empire. Commander Velic's report to the High Command reached the ears of influential leaders, sparking quiet debates about the Empire's long-held assumptions of superiority. For the first time, some Zarnak leaders began to consider the possibility of coexistence with humans rather than domination. Among the Zarnak crew, the child's memory lingered. Rivak, now an officer of growing influence, became a proponent of change within the Empire. "The human child showed us what we refused to see," he argued during a secret meeting of reformist officers. "They are not weak. Their resilience and compassion are strengths we do not fully understand, but we must acknowledge them." Slowly but surely, these sentiments began to take root. The Zarnak, once rigid in their belief in their own superiority, started to question the wisdom of their ways. It was a subtle but profound shift, an empire beginning to open its eyes to the possibility of equality with a species they had once dismissed. Meanwhile, humanity also adapted. Admiral Hayes spearheaded efforts to open diplomatic channels with the Zarnak, knowing that the fragile understanding created by Alex's actions could blossom into something greater. "We cannot let this moment pass," she said during a meeting of the Terran High Council. "The child showed them who we are. Now we must show them what we can become together." Back on Earth, Alex grew older, but he never forgot his time aboard the Zarnak ship. His experience shaped him into a thoughtful and compassionate leader in his own right. Years later, as a young ambassador for humanity, he would find himself standing across from none other than Rivak at a historic peace summit. "It's good to see you again," Alex said with a smile, offering his hand. Rivak hesitated for only a moment before clasping the hand in his own. "And you, human, it seems you were right about many things." Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe the channel for more videos like this.